Happy Easter, everyone! Well, it's not Easter the day I'm making this, and chances are it's not Easter when you're watching it either, but it's still worth celebrating something because holy fart nuggets, are you in for a ride today?
It's not that kind of movie. It's not really an Easter egg kind of movie.
Yes, it's that time again, the time for this sound effect. Music to my ears. Rather than going through Justice League vs. the Fatal Five linearly like we did with Batman and Harley Quinn, this time we've broken up the Easter eggs into a handful of categories: references to DC Comics, references to the DC Animated Universe, Justice League cameos, Legion of Superheroes cameos, incidental background characters, pop culture, and other. Time codes for each of these are in the description below if you want to skip around, so let's get started. The very first shot of the film displays a flashing, tell you what it means. It means alert in Interlac, the interplanetary language of the 31st century in DC Comics, first appearing in Adventure Comics number 379, published in March of 1969. It's also the name of a similar future language in Babylon 5. Starboy reflects his Bronze Age appearance designed by Keith Giffen, also seen in Jeff Johns' Justice Society comics. His JSA storyline is also echoed in the film, with Starboy losing his sanity in the present day due to not having his proper medication from the future. Likewise, Miss Martian and Jessica Cruz are Jeff Johns-esque in origin and character design, though Miss Martian's design is also very similar to her look from season 2 of the Young Justice cartoon, in passing like in Justice League number 31 from back in August 2014. Interestingly, this origin wasn't even present in the first draft of the movie's script. The Gotham News Network is the site of Bloodsport's television hijack, its earliest appearance that we could find anyway being in Batman Forever. Oddly, it's not the same station Summer Gleason and Jack Ryder, the Creeper, reported from in Batman the Animated Series. The acronym GNN, though, could be a reference to CNN, or Cable News Network, which is owned by DC Comics' parent company, AT&T. This is also the second Bloodsport to appear in the animated universe, the first being the Robert Dubois version, who was a member of Grodd's expanded secret society in Justice League Unlimited. The one in this movie appears to be based on the Alexander Trent version, who was a white supremacist. He actually once challenged the original Bloodsport to a boxing match in prison, which Superman refereed. I hope this also happened in the DCAU. When the Fatal Five are released from Brainiac 5's time trap, they fight Superman outside the Magan Center, which is a reference to DC Comics writer Elliot S. Magan, who was attached to many DC stories in the 70s and 80s, particularly Superman. He also wrote the Batman the Animated Series episode The Cape and Cowl Conspiracy, which was based on his own Detective Comics number 450 story, The Cape and Cowl Death Trap. Tara Strong does the giggling and grunts for Harley Quinn in this movie, which actually marks the first time she's provided the voice for the character in this universe, despite voicing her in many other movies and video games. So now there's 3 Harley Quinn voice actors in the DCAU: Arlene Sorkin, Melissa Rauch, and Tara Strong. Does that mean it's time to make a 3 Harleys comic? The Rand Thanagar War is heavily alluded to in this movie, with Hawkgirl mentioned to be on Thanagar and Jon Stewart mentioned to be fighting Dominators on Rand, which also means that the Dominators exist now in the DCAU. It's brought up later at OA that most of the Green Lantern Corps are also off in this obscure war. In the comics, Rand and Thanagar are neighboring planets that are often at odds, but this was brought to a head in the 6-issue 2005 miniseries Rand Thanagar War, which led up to Infinite Crisis. What we know about this war's DCAU version via this movie could imply that John and Shiera are on opposing sides as well, which could make for an interesting story down the road. John's name is also misspelled Jean in the closed captions. You want to complain about the original 7 not getting enough screen time in this movie? They were hiding in plain sight! Speaking of OA, the look of the planet is described by Bruce Timm on the commentary track to be an overlay of the OAs from Green Lantern First Flight and Green Lantern the Animated Series, both of which he co-produced. The central power battery is also the model from First Flight, as well as the science cells and other aesthetic aspects of the planet. This isn't the first time Warner Brothers Animation has reused assets from other properties as a cost-cutting measure, and it won't be the last. For example, the apartment from Under the Red Hood was reused in Young Justice, and Owlman's bomb from Crisis on Two Earths was repurposed to house Giganta in the Justice League Gods and Monsters Wonder Woman prequel, among many other instances. Similarly, Kilowog's character model is reused from GLTAS, same with his voice actor Kevin Michael Richardson, who also performs Mr. Terrific's voice in this movie rather than JLU's Michael Beach. Did you know Michael Beach also voiced Devil Ray, aka not Black Manta, and then went on to play Black Manta's father in the Aquaman movie? That's not relevant to Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, but damn if I don't want to mention it anyway. By the time period of the Legion of Superheroes, the Green Lantern Corps is said to be lost to the ages and nothing but a legend, which is how it usually goes in comic book land as well, something we did a Vanishing Point episode on a little bit ago. And it calls back to Emerald Empress's line in JLU's Far From Home.
A Green Lantern That's a rare sight in this galaxy these days.
This seems to imply that Legionnaire and Green Lantern of the future Ron Vidar is not a part of this universe. Maybe now that Hal Jordan is DCAU canon, he could have become Parallax somewhere along the way and destroyed the core? After all, DC lore has Kyle Rayner being recruited to stop him while he's already a GL at this point, and geez, Rick. Emerald Empress's real name is mentioned to be
Saria, Empress of Venegar,
who was the first Emerald Empress in the comics out of 5 or 6. Big Belly Burger appears for the first time in the DCAU, though I kind of wish they would have gone with Burger Fool. Missed opportunity.
Welcome to Burger Fool, where we're a fool for our customers.
Big Belly Burger has been featured prominently in the CW Arrowverse, but first appeared in Adventures of Superman number 441 in 1988. They apparently sell mochachinos, which continues the trend of Justice Leaguers loving iced coffee.
Iced mochas for everyone. Sweet.
Wonder Woman carries a sword now, which seems to be in reference to her modern incarnation in both the comics and live-action movies. Superman shouts, "Great row!" when seeing the Fatal Five for the first time, which is something he's been known to exclaim in DC Comics rather often. The prison planet Takron Galtos is mentioned when the Legion of Superheroes is deciding where to imprison Emerald Empress and Validus. Takron Galtos first appeared in Adventure Comics number 359, built to house the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. It also exists in the 20th century, as seen in Justice League of America number 247, and as recently as the Adventures of the Super Sons comic, which is interesting considering the third moon of Galtos is also the location Hawkgirl takes Green Lantern on Christmas Eve in Justice League's Comfort and Joy. I know that's a DCAU reference and we haven't gotten there yet, but it was easiest to just include it now. Oh, and Maddie has written here in my script comments, make a joke about the private prison industry being morally unjust despite having financial longevity that allows for staying open over 1,000 years, you centrist coward. So, there you go. The ending scene with the Emerald Eye of Ekron's detonation and Starboy's sacrifice is a reference to the Sun Eater storyline from the Fatal Five's very first comic book appearance in Adventure Comics number 352. The swirling orb of screen is also very reminiscent of the Kirby Crackle, an artistic energy rendering technique pioneered by comic book legend Jack Kirby, which has been used many times over throughout the DCAU. The silhouette of Mono's skull-like head is more like how he appeared in James Tucker's Legion of Superheroes animated series that debuted back in 2006, compared to the more fully formed comic-accurate head he had in JLU. And continuing with Mono, Batman defeats him at the end of the movie by paralyzing nerve clusters, very similar to how he dispatched the mutant leader in The Dark Knight Returns. Mono's insignia in this movie is also a bit different than how it looked in JLU or the comics, theoretically just a more detailed hand logo, but it's also pretty close to that of the Sinestro Corps. I would love to see that story. Jessica Cruz hearing Tharok on a frequency only she can hear is directly ripped from Superman the Motion Picture, with Lex Luthor speaking to Superman. I'm pretty positive this happened in a Superman the Animated Series episode too, but I feel really stupid for not remembering which one. I can't figure it out. Please help me. Last few little things before we move on to the DCAU references. This isn't the first time Miss Martian has shape changed into Robin. The slight name alteration of Starboy from Tom to Thomas was, according to the writers, half because Kevin Conroy sounded cooler saying Thomas, and half because it evoked a Martha-like quality via Thomas Wayne. Why did you say that name? Bruce Timm jokes on the commentary that the Javelin's console colors are the same as Plastic Man's, and that maybe that's actually Plastic Man hiding out on the dash, which would make this Plastic Man's first DCAU on-screen appearance. And lastly, a couple of voice actor choices of note. Daniela Bobadilla, who plays Miss Martian in the movie, also played Mist in Young Justice Outsiders, and Somali Montano, who voices Emerald Empress, voiced Mira in Justice League Throne of Atlantis, as well as Katana in the Beware the Batman animated series. Now, onto allusions to the DC animated universe. Beginning with returning designs, the Watchtower / Metro Tower / whatever reappears as the Justice League's central base of operations from the final season of JLU. And Superman's specs on its computer screen are actually his model sheet turnarounds from Superman the Animated Series. Arkham Asylum looks different than we've seen it before, mentioned by Bruce Timm to have been left over from before the movie became DCAU adjacent, but was confirmed in our interview with writer Eric Carrasco to be a direct purposeful nod to the updated Arkham mentioned in passing in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker.
The asylum had been moved to a newer high-security building.
Very intentional that it was a literal new Arkham.
Okay.
It was the newer high-tech institution that's talked about in Return of the Joker.
Beautiful. The laboratory Mr. Terrific and Superman are in while studying the Time Sphere was originally Star Labs in the film's script, but became an indeterminate lab in the Magan Center. Personally, I'd like to see the story of how Superman still has access to Emil Hamilton's digs after all the Cadmus shenanigans. In that same scene, Superman mentions,
"My dad was a farmer."
was, as in past tense. So does that mean he's dead at this point? Rest in peace, Jonathan Kent. 1911 to somewhere between 2001 when we see him in Comfort and Joy and this movie in 2005. Or maybe he's just retired. I hope it's that one. Plus, we get a reference to Superman's real dad, Jor-El. When Tharok's bombs go off in Metropolis and Superman flies and holds up a falling building, this could be a callback or call forward to the Batman Beyond episode, The Call, in which future Superman does the same thing, except he kind of fails at it. Barda comes to his aid there, Wonder Woman here. The Persuader chopping off Jessica Cruz's ring with his axe is notably similar to Heroic doing the same to John Stewart in Starcrossed, only John's ring didn't explode in quite the same way as Jessica's, and Hero's axe is a little less accurate. Looks like Batman learned from Dark Heart to put a gliding mechanism in his cape.
Since I can't fly at all.
But it could also be a reference to the futuristic wings on the Beyond era Batsuit. Besides the speaking role or Justice League Green Lanterns, we do get 2 more background GLs in Chassalon, who appeared in JLU's The Return, and Barir Watt. Yes, Barir Watt, not Arcus Chummock. Arcus Chummock is dead. So dead. Bloodsport references the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which is the second time in the DCAU that his assassination is referenced by well-known crackpots to have been a hoax.
It was forged by Illuminati mystics to prevent us from learning the truth.
Bruce Timm says that the similarity to the QAnon movement was unintentional, but since when has Bruce Timm saying no ever stopped us from making a video? Two-Face appears, and a Tim Drake cameo. Non-bat embargo JLU, yes! We've never seen an animated Justice League Batman alongside his own supporting cast. This would have been the perfect opportunity! Bruce Timm voices Two-Face here, and he also voices Validus too. Well, as much as Validus growls and whatever anyway. The voice they had fully replaced in ADR with Bruce Timm doing a Richard Mole impression from the latter actor's work on Batman the Animated Series. Timm has voiced a bunch of random characters over the years, like the Mad Bomber in BTAS, Booster Gold in Batman and Harley Quinn, the Joker's J-Man in Batman Beyond, this cop in Justice League, but this isn't the first time he's been Two-Face either. No bat embargo means Harley and Ivy were also able to appear with their slightly redesigned character models from the definitely canon Batman and Harley Quinn. Argus returns from that movie too. I was actually really scared at first when I saw this guy with the Argus team because I thought they were going to try to shoehorn in Steve Trevor when Steve Trevor is an old man by this point, but luckily I don't have to be mad. This time, here's something. Pudding night at Arkham is on Thursdays, yeah? The clown loves pudding, obviously referencing the Joker. Harley calls the Joker Puddin' all the time. So why is it pudding night?
Because it's Thursday.
Last in this section, all the musical cues. The Superman the Animated Series theme plays when Superman catches the Time Sphere at the beginning, when he catches Jessica Cruz, and when he's fighting Validus near the end. Batman's theme, which originated in Mask of the Phantasm and became the Adventures of Batman and Robin main titles music, can be heard when he punches Bloodsport at the news station and right after defeating Mono. Wonder Woman's motif from the Justice League cartoons plays when she first appears to talk to Jessica, when she tells Starboy to stay here as she goes to fight the Persuader, and when she's beating the crap out of said Persuader. Oh, and this break a nail moment. Garage, which Bruce Timm mentioned in the commentary that he wanted turned up just a little too loud, as well as the theme from Justice League subtly playing as the team walks through the Legion Museum's League exhibit. Other than the obvious ones, there's also music that plays when a Legion of Superheroes arrive at the funeral at the end, which was first heard in their appearance in STAS and reused again in JLU. And lastly, even though I don't think this was on purpose, Parking Garage sounds kind of like the music from the Sub-Zero movie. I would play them for you, but YouTube will be not so happy with that, so I'm just take my word for it. So, that museum, it's full of Easter eggs, like so many. Let's start with the Justice League statues. Who we got here? Aquaman, Hawkgirl, J'onn J'onzz, the Atom, the Flash, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Vixen, Mr. Terrific, Captain Atom, Steel, Huntress, Captain Marvel, Zatanna, Dr. Fate, as well as Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Miss Martian, though I'm not counting them because they're main characters in the movie, and also these couple of people. Honestly, I cannot identify either of them, and I tried for so long with this guy. Help me. Then of course Jessica walks into the Green Lantern area and we can add Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner in his 90s comic book look, Guy Gardner, and John Stewart. And that museum voice? That's Susan Eisenberg, voice of Wonder Woman.
The Justice League. Champions of Earth in the 21st century.
Okay, not gonna lie, this part took the longest amount of research. First of all, there's just plain a lot of Legionnaires here. But secondly, like half of them are colored wrong. That made it really difficult to figure it out, but I think we did it, so here we go. Ultra Boy, Tyrock, Wildfire, Bouncing Boy, Mon-El, Lightning Lad, Dawnstar, Colossal Boy, Chameleon Boy, Shadow Lass, Shrinking Violet, that was a hard one, Triplicate Girl, Invisible Kid, Pharaoh Lad, Matter Eater Lad, another ridiculously difficult one, friggin' Arm Fall Off Boy, Starboy, hashtag Arm Fall Off Boy is canon, Phantom Girl, Night Girl, Timberwolf, Karate Kid, and finally Lightning Lass, who's right next to Starboy. Why the heck is Karate Kid colored like this, or Timberwolf, or Matter Eater Lad, or Oh, and of course Brainiac 5 and Saturn Girl, who also get the I'm not counting prominent characters as Easter eggs treatment. Okay, I'm gonna speed run through this one, so keep up. Initiation Grocery Store Kid and Funzyland Kid, recolored Mary Jane lookalike, Skeptical of Booster Gold Crowd Chick, who's also late to a doctor's appointment, and she also worked for Cadmus. Initiation Grocery Store Lady, who's also at Superman's funeral, Pat Dugan from Justice League Gods and Monsters, Kimio Hoshi from Justice League Gods and Monsters, the same cameraman from Wild Cards and the Crisis News reporter from JLU and Static Shock, a bunch of World Assembly ambassadors from Secret Origins, here, and here again. This girl was saved by the Flash and the Brave and the Bold, and so is this Portland guy, who is also trapped on the bus in the Gods and Monsters Superman prequel short. A couple of these Arkham guards are from the opening of Batman and Harley Quinn, and this one inmate looks a lot like this dude who shows up in the background of Justice League a lot.
Run me right off the road!
This guy fights Hawk and Dove in a bar, and this guy was pretty afraid of Jon Stewart and his Dr. Destiny nightmare. And this little girl looks like she might be Cassie from Paradise Lost or Trina from Injustice for All. They both had pigtails. I can't tell. Sue me. Please don't actually sue me. And there's over 100 other background characters we couldn't identify. I'm not gonna go back and look for them. I just went with the ones I remembered. Sue me. Wait, no, we're almost done. Hang in there. The monologue about the future and Starboy's character are pseudo-repurposed adaptations of the Brad Pitt movie 12 Monkeys, but there are also similarities in his and Jessica's interactions and mental breakdowns to the 1962 film David and Lisa. Starboy's deteriorating faculties also has hints of Flowers for Algernon, all references confirmed by the film's writers. Starboy's line,
"When lambs is lost in the mountain, they cry. Sometimes come the mother, sometime the wolf,"
is straight out of the Cormac McCarthy novel Blood Meridian. The opening November 20 blankety blank date is a reference to Blade Runner, the date November 2019 being when that movie is set. This definitely isn't the first time the DCAU has referenced Blade Runner, with the BTAS episode Heart of Steel, the Hardak-centric story, taking a lot of cues from this movie and its source material Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, including the voice of Carl Rossum being lent by William Sanderson, who plays Blade Runner's similarly characterized eccentric J.F. Sebastian. The bell that rings at the Argus disguised convenience store is a nod to the secret entryway bell from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and in the same scene we get the famous Wilhelm scream. The fixed time loop nature of the film, in which the past cannot truly be changed but was always that way, is reminiscent of the same time travel laws expressed in sci-fi stories like The Terminator. Well, at least the first Terminator. I don't know how any of those movies work anymore. Batman calls Mono Skeletor, which I guess implies that the whole He-Man and Masters of the Universe franchise exist within the DCAU, just like Tiny Toons and other fictional properties. As of 2012, the Masters of the Universe comic rights are owned by DC Comics, so maybe Skeletor and other He-Man characters could cross over with Batman even easier than we think. We get 2 Star Trek original series references in this movie, one being Jessica Cruz's Situation Green, code word to alert Kilowog, which is taken from the Star Trek episode Bread and Circuses.
Captain Kirk and his landing party have checked in, but they have used the code term Condition Green, which means they're in trouble.
The other being Starboy's pharmacy scene, which is comparable to McCoy in Star Trek's The City on the Edge of Forever. It also has a Terminator quality to it, what with naked time travelers and all. Speaking of Jessica Cruz, her voice actress Diane Guerrero also plays a character named Vestia on the Disney Junior animated series Elena of Avalor, who is the twin sister of the villain Cruz. She also plays Crazy Jane on the Doom Patrol show, which released concurrently with this movie. Jessica Cruz also delivers a bit from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I've Been to the Mountaintop speech at Starboy's funeral. Finally, Miss Martian mentions
flying cars. I guess the movies get some things right.
And while there are flying cars by the time of even the Batman Beyond / the Zeta Project era, Miss Martian could be referencing the likes of future set movies like Blade Runner, Back to the Future, and Part 2, The Fifth Element, or Blade Runner 2049, though the latter came out after Justice League vs. the Fatal 5 is set. This also kind of alludes to Miss Martian having a similar backstory to her Young Justice counterpart in that she's watched older movies and television via signals from Earth that reached Mars at one point or another. Some last little bits here. The medication quatroclozapine that Starboy needs so badly seems to be a futuristic form of clozapine, a modern day antipsychotic that's mainly used for schizophrenia, meaning either Starboy has like quadruple schizophrenia or that clozapine is now 4 times better.
The miracles of modern medicine.
When Batman stops Naked Boy in the alleyway, his bat symbol is empty. Neat. And last, but most definitely not least, apparently they still have dentists in the 31st century. You'd think they'd have, like, better teeth overall 1,000 years from now. Guess we have that to not look forward to. And I think we did it. Thanks for sticking around through the onslaught of egg baby sounds and for being here for all of our Justice League vs. the Fatal 5 videos. If you haven't checked the others out yet, we've got a whole playlist full of them, like reactions to the trailers, a timeline of where this fits in with Justice League Unlimited, whether or not this movie is canon to the DCAU, which it is 70 billion times over, but still watch the video anyway because I worked really hard on it, and a couple of breakdown videos from before the movie actually came out, which I guess aren't really relevant anymore, but they're still like funny. Yeah, watch all of them, please. Okay, thank you. That just popped up in the corner of the screen there, or you can find it in the description below. Down there, you'll also find links to all our social media, our merch store, our Patreon, and other stuff. I recommend just clicking all the links and letting them open in new tabs and keeping them open while you do other things, so you're always reminded of the Watchtower Database and how nice it would be to follow them on Twitter or nab one of their dope t-shirts. There's even one with Egg Baby on it. Show your love for the Egg Baby. Do it now. Okay, bye. Thank you, Robert Sterling and Dark Poet 1792. Thank you forever and ever and ever. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Okay. See ya.